What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join the journey. And you guys already know it's your girl Ali, and I'm back with another video. I'm gonna try and do a video every day for you guys, or at least every other day, but we'll see how that goes. Other than that, make sure you stay subscribed to my channel, and just so you guys can get updates. Let's see, today I am going to be doing a pregnancy update video. As you guys can tell, if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and watch my recent last two videos. I am back and I'm also pregnant. So with that being said, I figured today I would be telling you guys my actually, instead of doing a pregnancy update, we're gonna go ahead and make this a story about how I found out I was pregnant, just because that way we can go in order. But so it all started back in, I want to say, July. At the end of July, I just was feeling really weird, didn't think anything about it, just figured it was all part of my anxiety and depression. For those of you who don't know, with anxiety and depression, your nerves can change. And I just noticed that I just mentally, I was drained. Physically, I was drained. I was tired. So I didn't even think anything of it. We ended up going to his sister's house in September. At this point in time, that was in Chicago. So we had a 5-hour drive on the way to Chicago, and I was absolutely miserable. Just didn't feel good, just felt very off, didn't think anything of it. Austin wanted to stop and get Arby's. That did not sound good to me. It sounded absolutely disgusting. So at that point, I was like, okay, that's weird. Like, you know, like normally I'm like, I don't want it, but no, like it sounded gross to me. So I didn't think anything about it, though. I was like, well, maybe I just don't feel good. You know, I could be coming down with the flu or something. And of course, COVID was going around, so I was a little bit scared about that as well. Just because when I get sick, normally I do get the worst end of it, and it keeps me down for a while. So I was a little iffy about that situation. Then we got to his sister's house, and I had slept the whole entire ride there. Just did not feel good whatsoever. I noticed they were, that morning, they had made breakfast, and I was eating like one piece of French toast, and it just wasn't sitting well. I was like forcing myself to eat it. So if you guys like I'm not sure if you ever like experienced to where like you're hungry, but if you eat it, like it just makes you to where like you're just, how can I word it? It's like when you're hungry and you eat, but you're not really that hungry, so you're like forcing yourself to eat it, and it's making you feel sick. That's what it was feeling like. So I was like, okay, like this isn't normal. Like I don't know why I'm feeling like this. Like I still feel like crap. I was like, maybe, you know, like I said, like maybe I have the flu. Later that night, we ordered a little bit from everywhere, like a smorgasbord, and I had ate absolutely, like I had ordered like a 3 taco dinner or something like that, and ate the whole entire thing. So I was like, and I still did not feel good, but I was hungry from not really eating all day, so I went ahead and ate. Later that night, everyone was starting to go to bed, and I didn't feel good, so I was like, well, maybe I'll just lay down, you know, and get some rest. The minute I laid down, I was right back up into the bathroom, still not feeling good, throwing up, just felt really hot. So I was like, okay, you know, like I feel like I have a fever, like at this point, like I'm not keeping anything down, and it was just getting worse day by day. So that the next morning, we had breakfast, and I forced myself to eat that as well, and then we ended up having lunch. also forced myself to eat, and then I couldn't finish the fries. It was like something about like potato, like it wasn't sitting right. So I was like, I'm good. And then later that night, we ended up having pizza. We ended up going out for pizza, and the only thing I could eat was a salad. I could not eat pizza whatsoever. It wasn't sitting with me, and normally, like, I'm always down for pizza. So I was like, okay, this is getting, like, at this point, it's weird. Like, I don't know why I'm feeling like this. I don't know why I'm holding certain things down. Mind you, in the beginning of this whole thing, I was seeing an OB, and they were telling me how they didn't think it was possible for me to get pregnant without help. So I was like, okay, so I wasn't like, this wasn't even on my mind. I was like almost 12 days late, which normally with my anxiety and depression, I have been 2 weeks late before. So I was like, oh, like I'm just late. Like, I'm sure it has to do with my anxiety. My nerves are high. I'm stressed. Like, it could have a lot to do with it. So I'm not worried about it. We get home from the restaurant, and I puked that up as well. So I end up throwing that up. And I remember calling Austin on the phone. I was like, look, like, I don't feel good. I said I'm throwing up. I was throwing up for like 2 minutes straight. My abs were hurting. My stomach hurt just from being like slouched over. My back hurt. And then I was like looking in the mirror, and I was like, okay, like, and I looked over at Austin, and I said, well, I think when we get back home, we should take a test. And he was telling me this whole entire time, like, I think you should take a test. I think you should take a test. And I'm like, no. I was like, I'm not pregnant. There's no way. Like, we've been seeing an OB. Like, we've been having issues. Like, I was like, I just don't want to take a test and keep seeing that negative sign. Like, after you keep seeing it after so long, it starts to affect you in a certain way to where you don't want to take it anymore. So I kind of like always knew how I was going to end up finding out. So then the next morning, we were packing up, getting ready to come home. I slept the whole entire car ride back home. We got home, and I'm throwing up again. At this point, there was something that was being made, and it made me absolutely nauseous to where I started throwing up again. And so I was like, okay, like, at this point, like, now, it was Memorial Day, so it was Monday. And I was like, okay, if I don't feel good in the next 2 days, like, I'm gonna go in and get seen, see what's going on with me. Well, Tuesday I called my mom, and I was like, hey, can you drop me off some Vernors? Like, I'm not feeling good. And she's like, oh, like, COVID's going around. Maybe you should get tested. And I was like, look, it's not that. Like, I know my body, and I knew it wasn't that. Like, I was like, I don't have any symptoms related to that. Like, I'm just throwing up. Like, I just don't feel good. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I have the flu. And she was like, okay. So she came and dropped me off everything I needed and stuff. And I was throwing up at that point. Now I'm throwing up liquid. I'm throwing up food. I have a fever. I'm severely dehydrated. My mouth felt like a cotton ball. Like, it just, like, it was so dry and sticky, and like my mouth like was just stuck together. Like, I could not bear with it. So then Wednesday, I woke up that morning, still wasn't feeling good, still was throwing up, still not keeping anything down. My mouth was still dry, still completely dehydrated. So I called Austin, he's at work, and I'm like, hey, when you get home, can you take me and drop me off at the doctor's? I said, I'm not feeling good still. And I said, at this point, I think I should be seen. And he's like, yeah, just lay down and wait till I get home, and we'll go and get you seen. And I'm like, okay. At this point in time, like, I'm just not feeling good. I'm miserable. So I called his mom, and I was like, look, like, I'm not feeling good. Can you drop me off, so I can get seen? She was like, yeah. And the whole way there, she was like asking me, like, are you sure you're not pregnant? Like, are you sure this isn't related to pregnancy? And I'm like, no. Like, and I just kept repeating it. Like, I really did not think that I was. So then we get to, she drops me off, and I'm sitting there waiting, and they call me back. And obviously the nurse comes in and she's like, okay, tell me your symptoms. And I'm telling her my symptoms, and she was like, honey, you're pregnant. I was like, no, like, there's no way, like, I'm not pregnant. I said, I'm pretty sure it's just the flu. I told her, like, we've been seeing the OB, we've been having a hard time. She was like, well, this seems a lot related to pregnancy. And I was like, no. And the more I kept talking, the more nauseous I felt. So I ran to the bathroom, and she was like knocking on the door, and she's like, do you want to go ahead and pee in this cup for me? She was like, and we can do and run some tests on you. And I'm like, yeah, like, sure. So uh, I end up peeing in the cup and giving it back to her and everything. And I go in the room and I'm waiting, and she comes back like literally not even 2 seconds later. Like, I kid you not, it did not take that long for this woman to come back in the room. It was crazy. And she's like peeking in the door, smiling. And I'm at this point, like, I'm just in a bad mood because I don't feel good. And she's like all smiling and just looking at me. And I'm like, what? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what the hell's going on? And she was like, you're pregnant. And I was like, you're a lie here. And she was like, no. She was like, do you want me to go get the pregnancy test? And I was like, yeah. I said, I want you to go get it. So she goes, gets it, and she brings it back. And I see the positive signs, and I'm like, I just kind of like sat there stuck. Like, I was so in shock because this whole time, like, I literally did not think that I was. Like, I don't know, like, something just, I did not think that I was. So at this point, her and the doctor comes back in after she walks out, and she was like, I think, she was like, they're like, we need you to go to the ER room because you're severely dehydrated, which I already knew was going to happen. And she was like, and they'll be able to check on baby for you and all this other stuff and do an ultrasound. So I'm like, okay. So I call my mom. We go to the hospital, and I end up getting admitted because I'm severely dehydrated and I need to get pumped with fluids, and I wasn't keeping anything down. So they needed to make sure that I was able to keep at least some type of a liquid down before they let me leave. So I was there, mind you, during COVID. I'm going through this all by myself. I was allowed visitors until 8. After 8, I wasn't allowed to have anyone. So I was literally in the room by myself. And I didn't want to be alone at all. So I was like, okay, like, I really don't want to be here. That morning, the next day in the afternoon, after they did all my blood work and everything, I was able to leave, and I was still feeling the exact same way for like a week. So I remember standing up, and we were in a store, and I was like, Mom, like, I can't do this. I said, I gotta go out to the car. I said, I don't feel good. I have no energy. And so I ran out to the car, and she's like, okay, like, we're going back. So we went back to the hospital. Once again, I was still severely dehydrated. And I was on a liquid diet this whole entire time. So it was horrible. I ended up going to... Sorry, y'all, excuse me. So I ended up going back to the hospital. They did the fluids and everything. I was there for like a couple of hours. They didn't admit me. After that, I felt a little bit better. We come back home. I had to have a follow-up doctor's appointment, so I went there a couple of days after that. And she gave me a shot of Zofran. And was just checking on me and everything, making sure everything was well. And then after that, she spoke to me, and she was like, like, you probably won't start feeling better until the second trimester. So at this point, like, I'm 6, like, we just found out we were pregnant. So at this point, I'm 7 weeks pregnant, and I'm like, oh, great. Like, great, we get to keep going through this till second trimester, right? So I'm like, great. So then She's like, if you're lucky enough, she was like, you'll start feeling better by 8 weeks. Well, thankfully, by 8 weeks, I started feeling better, and everything has been good since then. I think I only had like one downfall, like where it was like 3 days straight where I just didn't feel good and I wasn't holding anything down. But other than that, I've been feeling really well. I mean, besides feeling like tired and stuff like that, I've been feeling well. So, but yeah, that's my story. It was definitely hectic during that whole entire time. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you go ahead and people are calling me. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. Join the journey so you guys can get updates on the pregnancy. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye.